Hello London lovers! Today I invite you for an interesting walk along one of the most famous streets in the world, the name of which is invariably associated with big money, and this is Bond Street. London's iconic Bond Street is revered around the world for its wealth of elegant shops, exclusive brands, designer fashion, luxury goods, jewelry, art and antiques. Situated in the heart of historic Mayfair, in London's popular West End, Bond Street has become a haven for the good life. The street is named after the first truly serious developer, Sir Thomas Bond, who bought land here and in beginning of 1683 a major construction project, erecting new houses and laying out streets, and Bond Street is one of them. At that time, it was already a very elite place after the transfer of the royal palace from the Tower to Westminster. Only the noblest aristocrats received the right to build buildings here. Since its founding in 1700, Bond Street has become a playground for the richest, most stylish and influential people in society. Former residents of the street included Admiral Horatio Nelson and Lady Emma Hamilton, as well as a number of famous authors and poets. Today, more than 300 years later, Bond Street remains a popular destination for celebrities and socialites. Here is some history of shopping on Bond Street. The first floors of the houses were allocated for shops, and a century later Bond Street became one of the most fashionable shopping streets in the world. In that era, there were almost only women's shops here. It was impossible to dress like a London dandy in a store. Expensive men's suits were made only to order, and accessories were sold on another street. Women's stores also had a very small volume of ready-made clothing. Expensive women's clothing was mainly sewn to order, so the stores were usually combined with a tailor's workshop. The chosen model could be ordered to be sewn immediately, and fabrics and accessories predominated: gloves, hats, furs, and so on. At the beginning of the 20th century, the Sotheby's auction house moved to Bond Street, and since then, part of the shops has been occupied by art dealers selling works of art. Nothing has changed since those years. Bond Street is still one of the most famous shopping streets in the world. It still sells the most expensive brands of clothing, shoes and accessories, and Sotheby's still operates in the middle. Bond Street is occupied exclusively by boutiques, the own stores of high-quality, expensive manufacturers. You can find many luxury brands here. Bond Street is home to some of the most prestigious retailers in the world, including Asprey, Bulgari, Burberry, Chanel, Cartier, Dolce & Gabbana, Hermes, Jimmy Choo, Louis Vuitton, Mulberry, Ralph Lauren and Tiffany & Company. Bond Street offers an unrivaled combination of history, traditional elegance and modern luxury. The only more or less democratic place, and that is very relative, is the Fenwick department store. The part of the street closer to Piccadilly is occupied by diamond boutiques headed by De Beers. Bond Street and its surrounding area boast an impressive number of royal guarantees and are home to some of the most individual and unique hotels and restaurants in the world, including Claridge's and the Ritz, as well as such fine establishments as the Royal Academy of Arts and the world-famous auction house Sotheby's House. Now I leave you and give you the opportunity to stroll along Bond Street on your own and feel the spirit of well-being in the air on this famous London street. thank you for being with me on a walk along the famous street of London, Bond Street. I hope that you enjoyed walking along this unique street and, at the same time, listening to the history of the street, the name of which is invariably associated with big money. Don't forget to like and share your impressions in the comments. Also, feel free to subscribe to my channel to not miss out on exciting guided tours of London. See you in the next video. Bye!